on schools that's going to be posed to 6 of you at 2 tables. We're going to include Ms. Hughes, Mr. Krause, and Mr. Levain, and then we're also going to include Ms. Davis, Mr. Fannin, and Mr. Chapman. And this turns to the issue of the recent Washington Post article reporting that only 22% of Alexandria's 8th graders tested at their grade level in math. Citizens here feel that they have placed a lot of money, tax money and other resources into the problem of trying to increase school proficiency on every different category, including math, but they feel that they're not seeing enough improvement. So their question to you, what do you propose to do to improve the low performance among the worst in the region of the Alexandria City Schools, starting with you, Mr. Chapman?
It's an issue of leadership. It really is. Our schools right now have a problem with that. Folks talk about that in the community. Folks talk about that within school halls. It's an issue of leadership. What our leadership has done in our ACPS is put together a curriculum that's more rigorous. According to the strategic plan, which I was part of the group that put that together, that was part of the need. The need is rigor in our schools. Our schools have to be competitive. Our students have to come out of school ready to learn. A rigorous curriculum does that. It's not throwing money at the problem. It's making sure that our students learn. The way you get scores up is by ensuring doing assessments, which some people don't like, but you assess what students have learned. I do this right now. That's what it requires. And that's what we need to talk about and push our school community to do from the dais of City Council.
I think that the problem in the school, one problem that we're faced with today as far as the low scoring and performance, I think it's more of a diversity situation with the makeup of the students in the school system. I know from experience that there are many students in the school system whose English is their second language, and a lot of them do not comprehend the English standards as the other students do. I feel that there has got to be some way, I don't know, to bring up the language skills of all the students. I think if we can find a way to bring up the language skill and have every student speaking standard and pretty good English, I think that would increase our reports as well.
As Ms. Davis mentioned, one of the biggest challenges we have in the school system is our diverse population. It's a benefit to the community, but when it comes to the education world, it's very challenging because we have students from 78 different countries that come to Alexandria. 25% of all the people that live in our city were born in a foreign country. And what happens is when a 10-year-old shows up in the school system, you're 10 years old and here you go. But you might have come from a foreign country, so you aren't educated with the English language, you don't have the math skills, so that's a huge challenge that we just have being the location in the city that we are. All of it really starts at home. We can do what we can here at the schools, but young childhood education, reading to your children, doing these things from the parenting level is very important. And that's why I've been a supporter of the Parent-Teacher Leadership Institute here in Alexandria. When the kids get to school at 5 or 6 years old, the home training is the key to a successful school life.
It's been said that it takes a village to raise a child. And if you look at community engagement or activism, you reach students one child at a time. We have a situation in Alexandria with the minority achievement gap, and there's empirical data that supports that closing minority achievement gap is something that starts with pre-K education. So my emphasis or focus would be on upping pre-K education so that kids are coming to school ready to learn on day one. If children show up behind from the very beginning, they're playing catch-up from the very beginning. And if there isn't an adult there checking it, be it someone in the home or someone that's in the community, that child is going to continue to fall behind, and then they'll get to the point of functional illiteracy, not have proper analytical skills, and essentially they will drop out of school. So if I had an answer for you, I would say greater civic and community engagement, and making sure that we look at models like what's going on in Arlington, where they focus substantial resources in poorer and more diverse communities in order to make sure that we are increasing those kids' educational opportunities from the very beginning.
Here's where I go. I want to encourage school choice and competition in education. I want to establish a system to allow parents to rate their schools and rate their students' teachers. I want to return 9th graders to this $100 million T.C. Williams High School and repurpose Minnie Howard. We built this humongous high school. It can handle the students, and they solve some of the other problems that people have talked about in overcrowding in other schools. There is no reason to have a separate administration and separate teachers for 9th graders at Minnie Howard when they should be with the rest of their class at T.C. Williams. I want to, in terms of the test scores that you mentioned, I'm hoping the reason why the test scores were low is because the teachers were actually teaching our students something and not worrying about their scores on the standards of learning. When I first heard about SOL, I really thought it stood for something else.
Well, the reason why the test scores were down is because they changed the test. I mean, I think I heard the scores were down 20% statewide on this math test because they deliberately decided to make the test more difficult. So please take that into account. People should get their facts right. Overall, in recent years, test scores have generally been improving in the city. But we do have these demographic challenges. We've heard about the different languages spoken. We have half of the kids reduced in the free and reduced lunches. We have 1/3 turnover in the student body every year. Some real challenges. But like I told you, I've got 3 daughters in the public schools, and they've had a great education, largely because of the wonderful teachers we have in this system. They're really excellent. And I'd like to see these teachers empowered to do more, to innovate and collaborate, and more of a bottom-up kind of education system. But getting that parental support, that's so critical for education, but it's so hard. And I know the school system has tried to do that, and we should continue those efforts. But it's hard, and it just needs constant effort, especially in the face of these challenges that we're facing.
Well, I have good news for you all. I'm the mother of 3 boys in DC public schools, and there are 3 little math quizzes. It's a great school, but we have no language in our school. So just think, you have all that diversity. You could have your own group of United Nations translators. You're well ahead of us in terms of language abilities. So there's always a sunny side on that. Now let's turn to the issue of affordable housing. And for that, we're going to turn to Ms. Pepper, Ms. Silverberg, and Mr. Mincy. And the question is, and I have to fully admit, I don't even understand the question entirely. I'm sure my colleague at the patch does. Let's see if you can fill me in later. Given the constraints, and they point to the Dillon Rule, and that's what I'm not aware of. Given constraints like the Dillon Rule that exist due to Virginia state laws, what options does the city have to maintain a percentage of affordable housing? And for that, as I said, will be Ms. Pepper, Ms. Silverberg, and Mr. Mincy, starting with you, Mr. Mincy.
Well,
that's fine. Go ahead, Ms. Pepper, and then we'll go to Mr. Mincy.
The affordable housing is very important to our economy. If we are going to bring businesses here, they are going to want a workforce, and the workforce is going to need the affordable units, whether it's housing or rental. And what we have to do is negotiate with the developers, because we cannot buy every piece of land that is privately owned. We can't buy it, we can't rent it. We are working with partners wherever we can with units that are already in place. But we have to, when it comes to development, we have to negotiate with the workers, with the developers, and get the best thing we can out of them. And in this case of Beauregard, we were able to get some 800 committed units. And that is going to be a tremendous shot in the arm for us, because as it was, the developers were coming in, and they were going to come in and build by right, and that would have been the end of the workforce and affordable housing.
In terms of affordable housing, we as a city have a dilemma. We can't force developers what to rent their property. as a community, we need to come together and make a decision on how we're going to address affordable housing. Are we as a community going to use taxpayer dollars to buy land in order to keep rental prices down? If we do not, then we're at the mercy of the developers who are able to set the prices wherever they feel will bring a profit to their developments. That's just how affordable housing works. There's no free lunch. In terms of moving forward, it's easy to put the blame on somebody else. It's easy to not want to contribute funds during these hard times to buy private land back. But that's what the discussion we need to have openly with the citizens, with the community, with the developers, and decide how to move forward in the city of Alexandria.
Affordable housing is a national issue, as most of you know, across communities all across the country. And here in Alexandria, it's not just affordable housing, but it's also workforce housing that concerns us. I'm the chair of the Economic Opportunities Commission for the city, and two of our areas of focus are job creation and affordable housing. And I've served on the commission for 8 years for the city. So this is an issue that I've been devoted to for many years. I believe that we should build and or preserve affordable housing. We should work in public-private partnerships with nonprofits that already exist, like the Enterprise Foundation, that can help communities achieve their goals in terms of affordable housing. As the chair of the EOC last year, we submitted to Richmond a proposal with other community action agencies across the Commonwealth of Virginia for the Virginia Housing Trust Fund to get $7 million, and we were able to achieve that as a team effort. And this year we're asking for more. Thank you.